star seeds today. And how we're going to be talking about star seeds is from a very different perspective from like the traditional way of how people talk about star seeds. Because like, you know, at best people are getting like an energetic read or like an auric chart read. And once again, that's at best and very far and few. So I'm going to show you guys a much easier way to figure out your own starseed energy, what you got going on, and you know how you can actually use it the best way possible with astrology, your chart, and figuring out like, you know, how your soul essentially aligned with this lifetime, this purpose, etc., so on and so forth, right? So with that being said, it's like what we're dealing with in terms of starseeds is like people are, you know, they think Orion, they think Pleiades, they think Sirius, they think Lyra. It's not really anything like outrageously special. Like it's like the same 7 star seeds that people kind of stick to. And what my whole thing with astrology is, I guess you could call it like, because it's not really like traditional astrology. It's not really, you know, like Vedic or Western or etc. or anything like that. It's more or less like, I don't know, like the closest thing that you come from a technical standpoint is galactic astrology, but like that's not really what it is, man. Like that's not really what it is. So let me write down some of the topics we're gonna be talking about, and then we'll get into it. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Talking about star seeds. You all be feeling star seeds? Everybody new, like the live. Hook your boy up. But yeah, we're talking about star seeds today. And for those of you that know me, I be talking a lot of crap about like traditional spirituality and like how it's you know, how it's just like presented to the world, because I personally feel that like I don't know, like I just don't like how the academic mindset essentially talked about like whatchamacallit. Bye. I don't know why you're saying bye. But yeah, I don't like how like the academic mindset has essentially taken over like certain aspects of society, because it's like it just like I feel like it's like a general ideology that's essentially taken over like a lot of the world. Um I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I still think that's a very like generic mindset, because it's just like if you don't answer the like, because basically it's like, oh my god, I'm here to like totally like uplift the vibes of the world, but you have no intention. um that's funny. But it's like you have damn dog, if you're gonna say that, have the balls to not retract your fucking like comment, dude. Like what's wrong with you? um but yeah, so what I was saying about the general academic perspective of society is like people are so attached to having like a specific form of logic or a specific like ideology that they need to like cling to. And essentially what's going on with that is like they thank you, at least you can commit. Essentially what they have going on is they just need to cling to like some form of logic, like a rule, to like feel like they can keep afloat and like do all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? And like even that has like bled into spirituality in some way. So it's like what I really don't like about academics is people are trained to essentially study the ideas of these quote unquote like free thinkers and, you know, thought leaders that, you know, pioneered and elevated a certain line of thinking. And you're basically trained to just like do that, right? And I feel as though that has applied to spirituality in some way, shape, or form. So people don't look any deeper. It's like a general ideology and mentality that has just been like preached onto the world through the power of academics, that like people essentially don't have any like free thought or critical thinking skills, and it's like bred out of society in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of like how I feel this form is like not really on the world, because it's like people are you know, mentally castrated in some way, shape, or form. So with that being said, like that's essentially like how I see it, and how I sort of philosophy and spirituality are very different. So it's like, to put it in simple terms, spirituality is your individuality. It's like what is unique about you that came to the earth. And with like philosophy, at least I would define it, is a well-designed, logical path to ascertain a perspective. You know, so it's essentially an opportunity for you to look and identify like a way of thinking, whereas spirituality is a way of being, if that makes any sense. They definitely work in like a symbiotic fashion. However, they aren't, you know, it's like they're not mutually exclusive. But like, you know, they're not the same thing. So it's like one's a path and then one just is, if that makes any sense. So yeah. Why is everybody so obsessed with where I'm from on every live? I don't understand it. Like, one, I feel like it's obvious, so I don't answer very often. And then two, it's like, I don't know, it's like every time someone asks that, they're usually from India. And it's just like, what do you think? Like, I speak English, like, I'm clearly American, you know? I never understand that. Okay, let me get this down. Yeah, like that's one of the comments that I get on every single live is, "Where are you from?" And I'm knockoff Justin Bieber. I always get that. Literally every single live. You can go back and look. It's hilarious. Okay, let me write this down. Sorry, this is like really detailed and like essentially like this formula of like how I essentially you're funny. Hey man, if I'm Pakistani, I got it. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it. I got I'm ethnically, I'm like broadly Mediterranean. Yeah, so it's like, you know, Italian, Greek, a little bit of Egyptian, that type of stuff. You talking about philosophy and spirituality? Bro, just like brain ticklers, just go and get like an unlocked version of ChatGPT, you know? If you want to know yourself, I would go to spirituality. Um, yeah, but like that's a very broad thing. I do know that for a fact. I literally did it last night. But yeah. Yeah, whoever's asking like what time is it now? That is stupid. Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong in terms of like my signs, but yeah. Okay, let's do it this way. I'm a Gemini. Yeah, a lot of people say that. My channel's name is Solar Systems because essentially what I'm telling you about right now is I'm helping you understand the system that your soul goes into. And literally that's like the whole point of that's the whole point of like what I'm talking about today. Yeah. All right. Well, we got it. Man. Yo, we need better trolls. Oh wait, crap. I didn't mean to do that. The trolls are boring today. They were saying funnier stuff yesterday, or no, the other day. But yeah, okay. So essentially, whatchamacallit? Well, you clearly were if you identified as that. Like, I didn't tell you to identify as that. That was you on your own. If you know, how do you know 0 awake people in this world? Like, where do you live? That's crazy. They're not hard to find. They're literally they're all the lonely misfits find each other on TikTok Live, and you know they skip a lot of yeah. I'm not calling you a troll. Like I didn't directly identify anyone as a troll. I don't know why. Like people like what? Never mind. I'm just gonna talk and ignore the chat for a little while. Okay, so essentially what we're talking about today in regards to starseeds. Okay. I'm just waiting for. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm kind of like waiting before I even start because I feel like you're gonna make a very Christian Jesus pitch, and I had a whole conversation with someone else the other day where it's just like, hey, have you ever considered the thoughts of Jesus Christ? And I'm just like, yes, I've read the Bible. Oh my God, I really find it egotistical that like people who show up on like YouTube Live being like, have you ever considered the Bible? And I really feel like they need to talk to each other more to understand the level of evangelism that is out there. Like it's crazy to where it's like, oh, have you ever thought about that? No fucking shit, I've thought about that. Y'all never shut up about it, you know? But anyways, back to the topic at hand. So in regards to starseeds, I have a very like direct opinion about starseeds. Essentially what's going on with that is like I feel like people are very limiting in that. And what I was saying earlier is that people don't understand like they don't understand that like they should ask the question of like, oh, I just people just say star seeds because they just want to feel good and like, you know, essentially just jerk themselves off emotionally and stroke their own ego. So essentially what's going on is like people don't understand the depth of it and how to actually understand it from a technical way. Because what I was saying earlier is that people understand it and interpret it from a space of just being like just feeling good, like having no reason, having no purpose, having no like thing other than just using spirituality as an excuse to boost their own ego, right? Because like that's literally all they're doing. And when it comes to the concept of whatchamacallit, thank you. So when it comes to like talking about the energy of just people being like, I'm a Lyran starseed or I'm a Pleiadian starseed, it's just like they have no basis in that. They read like a little post online of some very broad personality traits that they just wanted to feel good about, so they said, yes, this is me. So when it comes to that energy of understanding spirituality and different aspects of that just perspective, it's interesting because it's like people don't have a direct framework to actually identify where they come from, right? So what I developed like 5 years ago and kind of like figured out from like higher spirits or whatever, like, the story is unimportant, but it's a long story. But when I figured it out, essentially what I understood was that you need to understand your moon sign, your degree, and then you need to use a different style of astrology, which is technically based under the name of galactic astrology. But it's kind of like so when we think about like different religions, like I look at like the top 5 main religions as the quote unquote like if you put them all together, you get like the true religion. That's how I look at it, right? So if we essentially look at astrology as the same way of where there's Vedic astrology, there's Western or tropical astrology, there's sidereal astrology. Vedic and sidereal are kind of like two peas in a pod. However, Vedic has 5,000 years of depth and understanding of what is and what's going on. So when it comes to that's hilarious. But yeah, so when it comes to breaking that down and really understanding how to use different aspects of astrology to understand, because like I view astrology as the technical understanding of, thank you, the technical understanding of the energetic influences in this realm, right? So it's like different cultures have different perspectives on the stars, X, Y, Z, blah 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 blah. So it's like Vedic has the longest history and the longest opinion. Um, You don't, I mean, like, I don't anticipate or expect you to do that. I was just saying that that is like the history of what has happened on every single, it never not doesn't happen, you know? And I just, like, I don't really mind it or care. It's more or less just, like, annoying at this point because I'm just baffled by the fact that, you know, the people who do that don't recognize how often it's done. That's my point. But yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're just coming to spend kindness, so I appreciate it. But back to the point of astrology of what I was saying in regards to that is, you know, there's different styles, and if you put them all together in a certain way, you'll learn the quote unquote what is true rather than truth, because, you know, what is true is objective, and the concept of truth is subjective, and also it's inherently backed up by lies when you talk about that, right? It's kind of like how people go through these experiences of paradigms, and where it's like they, um, what should we call it? My purpose to be alive is I like having fun and teaching people about astrology. That's what I like to do. But back to what I was saying about paradigms is it's like essentially like it's kind of like how, you know, back in the day there was I probably shouldn't use that. What should we call it? What's a good example? I'm trying to think of a good example. All right, here's childhood rebellion. That's a good example. So essentially it's like when we're talking about paradigms and like frequencies, childhood rebellion is the perfect example because look at the description. I'm a little busy. So the childhood rebellion is the perfect example of a paradigm because it's like you are doing something that your parents didn't like. And then, since your parents didn't like it, you did more of that, or you stopped listening to your parents out of not liking it for rebellion, right? This is like one of our first major lessons in terms of frequency, right? Because you're still on the frequency of living up under the perspective and I guess you could say approval of your parents, of where it's like, I don't have it, now I have it, but you're still living on the vibration of approval and perspective of your parents. So when we talk about paradigms like that, it's kind of like, you know, even though you're opposing it, you're still living up under that same energy and you're still living on that same frequency. And the best way to do it is the same way as cutting like a soul tie, right? Where it's just like you don't talk to them, you don't think about them, you don't direct any, you don't have any form of energetic exchange with that specific vibration anymore, right? I forget why I was even explaining that, but in terms of like I think I was explaining it because of different perspectives on like styles of astrology and styles of you know, star seeds, right? To where it's like people are focused on the concept of star seeds and people yeah, I know it's very important, but what I'm saying is that like I think that people look at it from a traditional perspective and they negate the evolution of what is, right? Like it's like how people spent millennia on the house system, like the whole sign or the equal houses house system, and then it took till the 1700s for some Italian motherfucker to come up with the name, to come up with the Placidus house system and being like, you know, we live in what's the word? Where he was like, you know, we live on varying points from the equator, right? And equal houses technically work only based off when you're close to the equator. So he was like, oh, fuck that, man. Let's move on. Let's move up and on to the energy of just this possibility or that possibility. And, you know, the further we are from the equator, the more elastic our houses is based off of how the sun aligns and so on and so forth. So, with that being said, essentially what's going on with the, you know, energy and perspective of, I guess you could say, understanding different styles of astrology, it's my whole point with it is different styles of astrology cherry pick different aspects of the stars for whatever reason. You know, like it could be anything. There's different astrologers, different people made it. You know, back in Ptolemy's days, there were 48 typical constellations. And then now there's 88 constellations that are recognized, you know, and approved that are in our local ecliptic, right? So, with that being said, when I was talking about different styles of astrology, it's like I love Vedic for the history and for the different amount of charts that they can create and pull for different perspectives, right? Like that is why I like Vedic. Do I like the underlying calculation? No, I really don't. I think it's outdated, and I think that it is whatchamacallit, limiting to the perspective of what the people had on the stars from 5,000 years ago, you know? Because when we are getting deeper into the fixed stars, which is what I'm talking about today, um, essentially, like the fixed stars move 1 degree every 72 years, right? So essentially, it is like adaptable, right? So it's just like when you're looking at the nakshatras and the lunar mansions, which essentially are the different deities and perspectives on the fixed stars. And I've done plenty of live readings with different spiritual people and gurus that are into Vedic astrology. And we go back and forth based on the perspective of, okay, we have this alignment, and this is what it is in Vedic. And we have this alignment, and this angles this constellation and fixed star. When I put those two things together, we get a very similar answer. But essentially, what it is I want to extrapolate that. And essentially, what I want to do is I want to utilize like just what is there instead of like an extra middleman story, you know? So like I think it's useful to learn, but I think the underlying calculations behind that are limiting. So with that being said, let's get into the fixed stars. Are y'all just saying nonsense? Seems like it. Everybody new liked alive. Hook your boy up. So when we talk about why the fixed stars, also, if you guys want to drop your moon sign and degree, I will be doing live readings towards the end whenever I'm done on my topics. I liked Interstellar. It was a good movie. What do you mean get a chance? This entire live is basically a dissertation or on exactly that. Like I created it a lot. Like I didn't create it. I was gifted it from, you know, whatever higher being or spirit guide I have, right? I don't want to say their name specifically. But essentially what it is like I was gifted that. I've been working on it for years, and now I'm just trying to broaden the scope and actually market it to more people so they can see what it is and make their own decisions for themselves. Um, yeah, I know. I just like, I don't know. I don't trust big head bald people, dude. I don't trust them. Um, yeah, like if you got a big forehead and you're just like bald and you're just like kind of blind in one eye, like I don't trust you. You know, so do I know Bashar? Yes. Do I like some of the things he says? Most definitely. Do I trust him? No, not at all. No. So yeah, so essentially, but back to the fixed stars. So the fixed stars, what they are, no, it's not like that. It's just like the dude Gary the numbers guy. Like I think he's good at numerology. Obviously he has a lot more credibility than I do, but like there's just something about like people with big foreheads from Ohio that I just don't like. You know, like it's like I don't know, anybody from middle America with like an ego like that, I'm just like, I can't do it, man. It's not any discrediting to their work. It's not any discrediting to what they got going on. But I just don't like them. That's about it. But anyways, back to the fixed stars. So the fixed stars, and kind of like why the moon is exactly. Um, why the moon is it's just like your moon is your mother, your Merkaba. It's the only space in astrology where you can actually make decisions, right? So with you being the only thing that you can actually make decisions on, and it's reflecting light, naturally the moon is the actual only planet or celestial body in the stars that we should pay attention to in terms of reflecting the stars, right? Um, this is why I am tropical specific, because I look at the different planets as individual stars, right? Like they carry the same energy. And if we've learned anything about light, it's that, light and light don't mix. Only one star can shine at a time. In terms of in our look, like there's only one sun in our solar system. So with that natural energy, it's whatchamacallit, you got to be more specific, man. If you're going to be contradicting, at least have an opinion that is well broken down, right? Um, so when we talk about like that, right, and the moon is the only thing that can essentially reflect, react, and respond to things in astrology, the different planets operate better from using Western astrology because Western astrology is inherently not based in the stars, right? It is based in the house systems. So it's like when a planet moves through a specific space in the sky, that is a house. It's literally living within that ocean rather than focusing on the wave. So essentially, what's going on with the moon is the moon being the only celestial body that can reflect light. We should use it with a much more star-based focus, which is why I use the constellations and fixed stars when talking about the moon. And I being that it is essentially like where you pass through when you're a soul incarnating on Earth, then it might be wise to think about the specific alignment of your incarnation, what constellation it angles, and then what fixed star it angles. And essentially, like why I focus on that sense of frequency or vibration is because the stars, behind specific signs like such as like Spica, Regulus, Aldebaran, Sirius, Alcyone, and just like countless other stars, like the moon sign itself and the house that your moon is placed in isn't enough to essentially, you know, map and calculate the specific individuality and the specific mindset and the specific perspective of a person. So it's just like, I think this system is a much deeper breakdown of breaking down what it means to be a being, right? Oh man, we got good trolls today. That's funny. Um, there we go. So yeah, so breaking down different aspects of the moon and understanding like that style of astrology, you can really have a deeper understanding of what it means to essentially what are you saying? Hey man, if I pass the dude, just start listing off other things like risen up the huzz, and literally, my favorite thing about like people that troll similar to your style is like you gotta one day you're gonna realize how much the internet programmed you, dude. Like it's just like you don't like it's like what individuality do you have? No. So what you're asking is about like astrocartography and a relocation chart. So it's like your core does not change, but it's the same thing of like you have a different aspect of your personality that shows up to different people and different experiences. So the same way that that happens with people, it also happens with places and things and different experiences like that. Whatchamacallit? I don't know Alice Bailey. But I would consider essentially like what yo Jack, go back to the fucking PS5 like lobby chat, man, and let them teach you how to talk shit. This is funny. Um, hey man, whatever you want to do. The seven divine spiritual rays, like kind of like the rainbow. I don't know. I see sort of the rain. Oh, that'll give them some ammo. I see the rainbow as like that's how like planets are actually experienced, to where it's like they are a specific vibration and a specific color. Like obviously red is Mars, and then like you just kind of go down the list of what you're vibing with and what you got going on, right? So essentially what's like that's sort of how I see it. I don't know her real perspective on the subject. Um but yeah. So I mean, I'll check her out, but like I don't know. I don't like to muddy my perspective with the knowledge of other people. Like I don't really watch a lot of other astrologers. I just kind of do my thing and be chilling in the corner, you know. And then people find me and they think I'm cool, or they hate me, or they I don't know. People always feel some strongly type of way about me, but that's because I have Pluto in the first house and some other alignments, and I got Mars in Gemini, so I just like talking shit. But yeah. But anyways, when we get back to the fixed stars, essentially like each star has its own vibration and frequency. Um, and essentially like when you figure out what your moon is aligned with, it's interesting because what it tells you is your it essentially tells you like whatchamacallit. Um it essentially tells you sorry, I'm getting distracted. I gotta write down the timestamps for the future. So essentially what it tells you is I break it down by your mentality, your purpose, your perspective, and then also potentially your past lives, right? So what you can extract from that is a fucking lot, right? So this is whatchamacallit. Ah, there we go. That's what they be saying a lot. Yeah. Hey, there you go. Get that snake rising. But yeah, so what the fixed stars tell us is they just tell you a lot about like why you're here, why you focus on that way. And one of the main things that I always talk about in my fixed star readings is like your purpose and your perspective often lead you to your biggest struggles and your biggest problems. And the biggest thing that you overcome is often a certain aspect of life that makes you an expert on everything in that area of life. So essentially, what it does is it teaches you the necessary lessons that you need to teach other people for your world, right? Because your perspective and your mentality and the natural resistances that are attracted to that essentially teach you your purpose because it's the biggest challenge you have to overcome. So if you want to look at it from like a specific breakdown, you can essentially determine that like the constellation is essentially your real moon sign, because it's like you have your house moon, and it's like that constellation is living in that specific sign. So it's like, for example, if you have Cetus the sea monster and you live in the Aries space, like that is a very like hyper aggressive monster that kind of just does what it does, and it does certain aspects and does certain things, right? And it essentially gives you a very like aggressive, like voraciously hungry moon sign and emotional feeling, right? Now, when we get to the fixed star, that is essentially transmitting your soul's primary tone. And that's where you extract your purpose. That's where you extract your mentality. That's where you extract like your focus in life of like, you are of this specific star. It has a very specific energy and vibration, and this is what you do. Everybody knew like the live hook your boy up. And then when we get more into that and we get to specific things of like what it is on Earth, you get your mentality, aka, you know, what your soul kind of chose to incarnate under in terms of your focus and your energy and what you want to do, right? And then from this, we can potentially extrapolate things like past life energy. Past life energy is very testy in terms of like, it's very testy in terms of mm, yeah, I feel that, but I'm basically using astrology to extrapolate that. And like, I don't know. I've had plenty of past lives as an astrologer, so like that's basically what I'm pulling from. But yeah, so essentially like with past life energy, it's very testy. This is where you get into things like you got to check how your south node connects with the fixed star and blah 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 and the houses. Like it's a very detailed thing that you have to do from an astrological perspective to actually verify the past life energy. But but it does like you know, if it does check out with all those other tests that you can do, the like essentially you know, then you can like verify the past life stuff. But that's like kind of an add-on, and I sort of like with doing fixed star readings, I kind of do it as like an entertaining story on top of like whatever else is going on. Everybody new, like the live, and then subscribe if you like esoteric astrology and stuff like that. But most importantly, what the fixed stars kind of do is they basically give you one of the most clearest readings possible on your perspective of life and the purpose that unlocks the power in your life. And it does it the same way like it gets done in every situation of why purpose and perspective give you power in life, because it gives you clarity, it gives you focus, it gives you the higher echelon energy of Scorpio and essentially leapfrogs you through a lot of evolutionary aspects of your life, which is, you know, having clarity and precision in what it is you want to do. So it's like, it's not like a neat little trick. It is, you know, it's just more than a cool star you came under, you know? Um yeah, if you drop your moon sign and degree, I'm doing live readings at the end of this, which is probably going to be, you know, in some time. But yeah, if you drop your moon sign and degree and then pull your chart, because I'm going to break down like how you can extract your fixed star and all that stuff. And then essentially you can break down and like I'm going to like break it down and basically. So it's like, you know, you got your regular natal chart right here. And then what I do is I break it down into your chakra systems and your solar map and stuff like that. And essentially, like once I extrapolate your fixed star, I break down like certain specific alignments that essentially assist or you can utilize in the aspect of what you call it, that you can break down and utilize for different purposes. I can't do, it has to be moon sign tropical for the reasons that I previously explained. But yeah, so for you, that would be like 21 degrees Aquarius. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's something similar. Like, it's a very specific vibration and understanding of astrology that I would assume be unique across anybody who discovers it. You know, I'm just the homie on YouTube breaking it down. You know what I'm saying? Because little like the gap in the market that I've noticed for astrology is like no one on YouTube has ever done an astrological breakdown on all of the 88 constellations. And like so far I'm like 7 out of 88, but I'm going to get that done this year. And I also have a website that like has pretty good articles that I kind of use as like a breakdown of it. But yeah. That's pretty much what it is. Um so like back to the concept of star seeds and like why fixed stars is because like people come here with a mission and they just say like, especially people in the West, they just end up saying like retarded shit like, oh, I came here to uplift the vibration of Earth. Oh, light and love for everybody, you know? And no one ever does the work to break down and explain how. Like, how do you do that? How do you make that happen? What is your purpose? You know, it's like, I hate to say the devil's in the details, but it's just like, it's like, yeah, it's like I feel and I appreciate the energy that comes with that statement, but like specifically, like that is the problem of what I'm talking about, Like it's just like a spiritual quote to just feel good about. Like there is no action, there is no purpose, there is no planning, there is no actual structure to support the upliftment of humanity, right? Because right now it's like we're on a pretty strong trajectory to end up in Matrix Terminator world, and everybody's just sitting around being like, love and light, let's just protest and get more people aware about the issue so eventually someone does something, you know? So it's just like I hate that. I couldn't hate that anymore because I think it's so dumb. Of like, you came down here. You're a high vibrational being, and that's all you got? Love, light, let's vibe together? No, we're not doing that. We are understanding our charts. We're understanding our purpose. We're getting a lot more clarity on what we incarnated for, and we're getting our specific skills and purposes and knowing exactly what we have to do to accomplish this goal. You know? That's like my whole vibe with it. And that's why I have a school that teaches this side of astrology. Like I just like I can't stand that stuff so much. Like literally everybody I did a live just straight hating on the Lion's Gate yesterday because it's an alignment that doesn't exist. And as someone who has taken their focus with the expertise on the fixed stars, I will hate on that every year on the year, and I got it 5 years running. But then I'll tell you a proper way to use what's aligned with it, right? Because it's all about the star Sirius. Sirius is undoubtedly the most like I peaked in high school star that is so egotistically focused and it just wants to look cool to younger people. Like Sirius is the most whatchamacallit, like, oh, thanks for noticing. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm showing you how to combine different aspects of astrology for specific purposes because all specific ones cherry pick certain aspects of the stars, and I'm just like, bro, use everything. So that's pretty much it. But I will 1000% harp on the fact of like I just hate how love and light has like taken over spirituality. I hate it so much. Like it's so useless and like mind numbing. Like people aren't like nothing is actually happening. And it's just an excuse for people to dive into spiritual ego. And I think it's a deep problem. Um, but yeah, but back to what I was talking about in regards to the specifics of like why the fixed stars, why this way. Oh yeah, Sirius. Yeah. Yeah, I mean everybody talks about Sirius. It's the brightest star in the sky. Yeah, okay, okay. I appreciate that breakdown. But yeah, like I'm not saying like I don't value the vibes, but I'm just saying like you're not doing anything. Like of course I want the world to feel that way, but it's like things need to happen, right? Like it's the union of the divine feminine and masculine energy. But it's just like right now it's like there isn't as much union as I would like there to be. But back to Sirius. Sirius, it is the most like I peaked in high school star ever. Um, it's the brightest star in the sky, so think about its own vibration of ego and what it feels it needs in terms of shine. And then like the way I describe it is it's like a high school kid stunting on elementary school and middle school kids, showing them that they have a Mustang and they're probably like a senior dating a freshman girl. Like that is Sirius in a nutshell of where it's like, yeah, of course, all that like fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional stuff of it being a star is cool to us on Earth, but that's like it's like some of the most basic information to people up there. Not to mention that it's the throat of the Canis Major constellation or the throat of a dog. And who likes dogs barking? Nobody. You know? So it's like when it comes to Sirius, the like it's annoying and literally the energy of its star has created a fake holiday around it that isn't even aligned and it's intended to literally misalign you. Um, but if you actually use the real Sirius date, which is essentially the real date of a major alignment with Sirius, which is Jupiter conjuncting Venus on Jupiter conjunct Venus on August 12th, and that day it actually angles Sirius. And yeah, so like that's a day of where it's just like, if you want to speak things into existence and let them be seen and just get lucky, that is the day to do it, right? So that's like a specific application of the fixed star. Now, if we were to know anybody that had a Sirius moon, this would be they had a moon between 14 and 15 degrees of Cancer. And in that case, you know, you got to remember Sirius is just about abundant, bright, loud communication with no actual practical benefit, right? Like, for example, I have someone that I don't really talk to anymore in my family who has their sun angling Sirius, right? And if you're curious, sun angle Sirius is on 7-7. They are one of the most superficial people that pretends to care ever. That's Sirius, you know? So it's kind of like this is where it's important to understand the fixed stars and like how to actually use it, right? So it's just like there's a lot of detriment to Sirius, but there's like ways to use it that are beneficial too. And also I have some past life soul connection that make me personally hate Sirius. But yeah, I don't agree with that. But yeah, anyways, moving on to the sun moon connection of the fixed stars. What's the word? I don't know why you're saying you're a software engineer. I always get software engineers. Yeah. Always a software engineer in this space. But yeah, so when we're talking about like the path of properly understanding your fixed star, once you break, and then the next section I'm going to tell you how to actually find it. In the next section, you know, we'll break down like, so everybody drop your moon sign in degrees. There is no difference between astrology and spirituality. There's no difference, you know? Okay, the second part I can agree with. Well, yeah, but they held it in high regard, which is what the Lion's Gate is actually based about, which is the helical rising of Sirius when it comes over the horizon, and then there was the flooding of the Nile, and then once it, you know, left, there was the harvesting of the crops. That's like what the Lion's Gate is actually about. So it's like they always saw it as like abundance, like we can survive, you know. So that's the energy behind the quote unquote Lion's Gate. Oh yeah, drop whatchamacallit. I'm doing good for the most part, but I got riled up starting about topics that annoyed me, so I got a little riled up. Yeah. But anyways, back to the path. So once you get your moon sign and degree, you have to look at your obviously your lunar nodes, and then you have to look at the relationship with your sun, right? Because your sun is going to be the first planet that you interact with, right? Um, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I don't agree. But so it's like when you get understand your moon sign to the highest degree, and you understand the perspective of the like the path of like where you came from, you have to naturally understand where you're looking next, right? So where you're looking is essentially through your sun, right? So if your moon is in 27 degrees Scorpio, that very likely aligns with Aegina in the Centaurus constellation, right? I forget where that is specifically. I think it's like the ribs of the Centaurus constellation. But essentially, that gives you like a deep spiritual undertone and understanding the perspective of, you know, like heavy emotional responsibility being the one that kind of uplifts like it uplifts the union of the animalistic and, you know, higher human symbiosis. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like what that's random. And it kind of like that's sort of like the vibe of where it's all about like understanding an emotional framework that combines the energies of like a structure that shows you like This is when I engage in my animalistic. This is when I engage with my like human masculine side, right? So if we were to add sun in Pisces, we essentially like get broken down to that alignment being like an internal healer, right? So if it's coded by Agena and it's showing people how to essentially create like structures and systems so they can help understand and master their like human side and their animalistic natures, that's essentially what it is, right? So if it's a sun in Pisces, they're going to do that through a space of being, I guess you could say, like emotionally adaptive, intuitive, and essentially understanding the vibrations and the feelings of everyone else around them, and understanding like who to talk to when, and just intuitively knowing how to help people with this specific aspect of healing, right? So in this case of someone who incarnated as a starseed, their purpose is to essentially like basically what it is helping people like deal with their like, you know, sexual desires, aggression, and learning how to channel that in a higher creative way through connecting them through a sense of spirituality. And then their tools to do that are very intuitive and guided from spirit and just, you know, being empathetic in some type of way. So I know that's a broad example, but that's some of the specifics that you can get, right? I mean, maybe. I don't know. That just sounds like some old motherfucker was having fun with pattern recognition that felt good, you know? Would I ascribe like the entire like Earth's spiritual meaning to that? Probably not. Like, so the way I see that is the same way I see like the MC, right? So it's like traditionally the MC is the cusp between the ninth and 10th house. And essentially what it is some like over explained thing that basically describes like, oh, this is your soul's purpose for your career, right? And if we think about the ninth house, which is like your philosophies, your higher learning, your excitement, um, well, you're not leaving it there. You keep talking about it. I know. I'm going to look up Alice Bailey. You keep harping on that point. Like, just be honest with yourself and say you're not leaving it there. But yeah, I sort of see it the same way. I see it as the people like, you know, promoting the MC, of where it's just like, this is just a rebranded version of the cusp in the ninth and the 10th house. Like 10th house, status, career, who you are going to be seen as a person from just broad status perspective. Ninth house, higher learning, optimism, perspective. MC, oh my God, this is like your purpose in life. This is your career. Let me do a tarot card reading and make you feel so good about what your purpose is, right? Like that is the perfect combination of the ninth house and the MC. And it could have just been the ninth house and 10th house cusp. You know what I'm saying? So it's essentially like, um, I'm not triggered. I'm just passionate. I'm an Aries moon. This is what I do. I guess so. Whatever makes you feel good. I don't know what the hell a liberated one is. Um, vibes. Oh, what? Damn. That sounds annoying. But yeah, so it's just like, I don't know. It's like just claiming that those specific stars are the trinity of like the entire Earth's alignment is like, I view it as the same way as like the MC being a rebrand to what already is, you know? Because it's like, I like if we were to say the focus of the Earth's alignment, I would do the royal fixed stars. Literally the most obvious one. Those are the stars that are supposed to be the like incarnations of the four royal archangels or archangels that essentially gave birth to, you know, the zodiacal houses, which were the spaces to essentially facilitate and hold the energy of the constellations. So like, I don't think the spiritual trinity direction of Earth was based on those stars, when those archangels were the ones that essentially gave birth to this realm, you know? So it's like maybe they had a hand in it. Maybe it's like an agreed upon direction. But when it comes to like the origins and purpose and energy of that, sorry, Alice, I disagree. Now, let's get into how to find your fixed star. Okay. Before we do that, I'm going to take a little break and get some more tea. I have my tea. Okay, now how to find a fixed star. Okay, so how to find a fixed star. So what we do is essentially, what you need is your moon, your tropical moon sign. You need your degree of your tropical moon sign, and then you need the date that you were born, because essentially the fixed stars move 1 degree every 72 years. So basically what that is you got to add on like 0.838 minutes or subtract 0.838 minutes per year. And as you can see, what we got going on right here is we have the stars listed at the year 2000 and the year 2050, right? So essentially what you need to do is, if you were born sub the year 2000, you need to do the math of how many minutes you need to add on to your specific degree. So it's like, essentially what we got going on is, like, these are the minutes. There's 60 minutes to a degree. This is a degree. And essentially what you got to do is identify, different aspects of that, right? I don't know what I'm saying when I say that. But basically it's like you get your moon sign, you get your specific degree, and then after that, 21 degrees. All right, yeah, we'll look into that. So for example, 21 degrees and 50 minutes of Aquarius is, where is it? Honestly, it's just this one. But where is Nishira? Okay, so for example, this one, which is Nishira, it is still in the Capricorn constellation, which is as expected based off of sidereal astrology being constellation based. So it's like the sidereal system, which literally means star, is like, you know, my only problem with it is it only focuses on the 12 zodiac constellations, which is my only disagreement with Vedic and sidereal astrology, right? So it's like, it's not necessarily going to always lead that way to the zodiacal constellations, but it is going to be, you know, more open and more potential when we do other examples. So when we do this, we go to Nishira, right? So it's the fin. And what a lot of people forget about Capricorn is that Capricorn is the sea goat, right? So when we're thinking about this energy of moon sign being in Aquarius, we are thinking about the deeper aspects of Aquarius, right? So it's just like, oh, sweet, better fortune vibes. But what we're essentially looking at is different perspectives within Aquarius. So Aquarius is really good at socialization. They understand social dynamics. They understand social energy. They understand like archetypes within groups. They understand like general vibes when it comes to group connection, and they understand how to leverage that, right? So when we come to the sea goat is the underlying emotions that Capricorns go through, right? Because they are trained from a very young age, especially if they're a Capricorn ascendant, to essentially be, you know, to basically stuff down their emotions, stuff down their energies, stuff down their vibes of just everything they're going on, right? So they're usually deeply empathic. They're usually deeply emotional. And they just stuff it down, right? So when it comes to Nishira, as you can see, Nishira is on the fin of the tail of the sea goat. So when we think about the fin, we think about direction. We think about directing emotional energy. We think about understanding the path of emotional subcurrents, right? So when it comes to your moon sign being, you know, 21 degrees of Aquarius, we understand that your innate skill is understanding how to guide the emotional undertones of groups. And when it comes to knowing how to understand the emotional undertones of groups, essentially what you got going on is the ability to manage like large groups and the emotional undercurrent that supports them, right? So this is like, think about political movements. People are having political unrest because laws are making it difficult. Usually it's about money, but not always, right? It's always about money or freedom in some type of way. So when you identify that that is the emotion that is underlying things, you have the ability to essentially see all the dynamics that are leading those emotional undercurrents of what everybody feels in their subconscious. However, they cannot yet consciously explain, you know? So that's pretty much what the vibe of Nishira is, and that is a very valuable skill, right? So I would think about, yeah, but it's deeper than trying to help someone emotionally. It's more about, it's more about you understanding, like basically what this is like I mean, without like, to be blunt, like this is the ability to be cult adjacent, of where you can look at people and you can attract people based off of a certain emotional current, and you can identify that this person is fringe or a little, you know, mentally unstable, and you can understand that this mental instability is aligned with creating a group or a splinter cell around this. This is an extreme example, of course, and you can understand that this person's emotional triggers is perfect for this skill set within this, you know, syndicate or organization to do XYZ, right? So if we're thinking about like political rallies, it's just like, this person hates being broke because they think it's this logic and their ego feels more comfortable to be aligned with this ideology. So I am going to leverage that in order to create a group to do some type of XYZ action, right? So it's a very like Jungian, deep, like, I wouldn't say Jungian, I would say Machiavellian, like deep psychological understanding of people and understanding things about their subconscious before they know it, right? Because you have such an analytical mind and a categorical ability to understand where people are at in terms of status within a social group and hierarchy. And Nishira basically gives you the ability to see their emotional subconscious and path of how they got there, you know? So like, that's what it does. Oh, thank you very much. I've been doing this for a while. But yeah, if you guys like this and you want like more like detailed understandings of astrology and courses, in the description, I have an entire app where you can like hang out with people that like this style of astrology. And also I have a bunch of courses where I teach it, and as well as we do group calls. It's called the Alchemists Laboratory. Check it out. But yeah. So that's basically like in terms of how to find your fixed star and what it means, like this is step one, right? Like we're talking about star seeds and the soul's path and like blah 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 blah, like perspective, whatever. Sorry, it's not as bright as I would like it to be in my room. I'm gonna set up an app so I can do multi-platform streaming at some point, and then yeah, man. I mean, it's deeper than you know. You're gonna be like 40 years old thinking about this and being like, oh man, that reading was spot on, and you're gonna keep coming back to everything I said, and it's gonna unlock in layers for you. Like that's how it always works. But yeah. What was the next topic I wrote down? Like I still have that shit, you know? Because like I still come back to like dreams and like my origin dreams of like what taught me all this stuff. And yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. So now when we get into the depths of this, because it's like knowing your fixed star is like step one of like you speeding along your journey and you know, basically not knowing your purpose. Okay. Let's oh, I didn't write down what the timestamp was. We'll do 50. And the path is dynamic. Yeah, and then if you guys want to drop your charts and your moon sign and degree in the chat, I will be doing a live reading for somebody at some point, and it's going to be very deep, to say the least. So the next step after your path is quite complex, because this is where it gets like in your actual chart. So then it's like, this is when we ask the question of how does your sun affect it? Like the same way the soul's path is dynamic and not linear, and you know it kind of spirals because that's, you know, it aligning around a vibration while maintaining its own space. You know, like I don't know what you're asking, but that is also important. But yeah, so it's like basically it's not a step-by-step ladder. It bends, it pauses, it reroutes, and it doesn't really follow any formulas, right? So this is where you need someone who is not only an expert or under a master of astrology, but you also need someone who is deeply interwoven into the study of like, what is this? What does it mean? How do we experience this energy? How does it apply to the chart, right? Because it's dynamic, right? So if we're looking at it, it's just like your sun is the ignition point. Your moon is the origin and the memory and the fixated purpose and perspective of your life. And then it's like your rising sign is like the interface and like your direct connection in terms of like what you feel you need to learn and experience. And then it's like when whatchamacallit, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much how you do it. That's that also comes into importance when you're doing a fixed star reading, because like sometimes stars are at the same degree, so you need the person's, you know, longitude and latitude to actually like, you know, figure out which star it is. Because that's a whole other thing. I had like when it comes to astrology and deep studies that people feel very passionate about, you get a lot of bullshit in terms of like people being like, you know, you need to pay attention to the southern hemisphere too, and it's just like one singular person being super passionate about a hyper specific thing, and it's just like, I'm one person, how do I do all that? You know? So, and then but back to the topic at hand, when we understand the planets as a tools and how they operate, that applies much more deeply to your fixed star and your purpose, because it's such a dynamic thing. This is how the energy of the world interact and upshift you. This is how applying that is essentially in like a very unique and specific like thing that is always constantly changing and shifting, but yet a very clear dynamic understanding of the energies. I have my disagreements about that, but yeah. But yeah, but in modern times for sure, but in ancient times we don't know how civilizations ebbed and flowed, but it was astrology was always there. But yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I mean, like, I can't really like give you the best breakdown of this without having to do a live breakdown and reading, because it's just like, for example, like for what's his name? I don't know how to say that. Suryansh. Yeah, but for the homie with the Aquarius moon, um, essentially like after saying that and like the emotional dynamics that I was talking about, I would like essentially what I would pull up first is I would look at your sun, I would look at your south node, and then I would look at your Venus and your Jupiter, right? As well as your Uranus. So essentially what's going on with that is like I would ascertain different aspects of how you could utilize those tools and essentially break down like different ways of you using it, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much how it would apply. But it's like, I don't know, man. It's like a really deep, specific thing. So yeah, if anybody wants me to do like a live reading on their fixed star and their entire chart, drop the information below. It's birth time, date, and place. Yeah, I mean I can figure it out from there. Yeah. Oh yeah, let me know if you want to break it down. Hey. Oh, you're back, Beat Boy. Here. Sir Yansh, we just did yours, so we're gonna do Naveen's. Let me look it up.
For everybody that didn't listen to why I'm doing these readings, I am not gonna do it. You can book a reading though. Why is it not showing up? It's so annoying. I use a different site. What did you say again? That does not help it. Alright, we'll just do that. Sorry, the software I was using at first was not picking up these like little towns in India. Oh my god, I don't want to do all this. Don't make me register, I don't need to. I don't know. I don't know what's up with him. Oh my god, why is it not coming up? Oh wait, that's what I wanted. Damn. Okay, finally. Oh my god, that took too long. Okay, so we calculated Naveen's chart. It's a little off because the software I was using couldn't pick up these like little towns in India, so I just did the closest big city, which I think was like Bengaluru. It won't really affect the chart too much, but yeah. Okay, let's look it up. We're basically looking for 10 degrees Sagittarius for yeah, you know, close enough. Hey, I'm chilling. I was kind of annoyed by the software not fucking with me, but other than that, just chill. Okay, let's actually figure this out. Okay, here we go. I just told you, fucking listen. Oh, okay. So this is your chart for the most part. We're going off of this right here, which is your moon. Basically, since once again, the fixed stars move 1 degree every 72 years, and you have 48 minutes, right? So with it being 1996, we basically had to add like 3 minutes to when looking at the stars. But I think we will find something. My guess would be the Centaur's constellation. But let's look. Oh, well, that was easy. Oh, wait, I should have known that. I haven't looked at Antares in so long. Oh, okay. This is one of the 4 royal fixed stars. And having one of the 4 royal fixed stars is actually very unique and kind of rare. Essentially, Antares is it's seen as one of the 4 royal archangels, or the 4 royal archangels in Christianity. Essentially, Antares is correlated to the archangel Uriel, and what's funny about that is the archangel Uriel was the closest to Lucifer, essentially. And if you look at it in like the cycles of where it starts with Aldebaran or Michael, or the star that gave birth to Aries, Taurus, Gemini, which is like the birth and the creation, the excitement of an idea. And then we look at the next star, which is Regulus, which gave birth to Cancer, Leo, Virgo, aka how to sustain the dream. And then we get to Antares, which gave birth to Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, which is how to essentially let the dream die, right? So it's dealing with the release and the death of, or the, the demise of essentially what's going on with the just like like any possible experience or aspect of life, right? Because it's not supposed to be sustained ever, right? It's supposed to be the cosmic fall, aka figuring out aspects of like the winter, right? And just like recognizing when it's time to release or let something go or let it like, chill out. So that's essentially what it is, right? So if you're dealing with things along the lines of what's the word? If you're dealing with like a lot of people that are like coming to the end of an experience, whatever that be in life, the reason why you feel these energies of what's the word? The reason why you feel these energies of like having a bad moon is it's not bad. It's that like you're more or less here to help people learn how to release certain experiences, right? So this is why you're always around people where things aren't working out or things aren't going right, because you're meant to show them how to let it go and move on and recognize that the lesson is being relieved, right? So that's why when we go to your moon sign being here at never mind. So when we deal with your moon sign being here and it being surrounded by, your lot of fortune, as well as Pluto retrograde, it's showing people how to essentially like transmute and release and move on. Oh wow, you were born in Mauritius? That's cool. I'm not doing. I'm only doing one live reading because this one's gonna take a while. But if you want to book a reading, essentially this is a combination of the solar map and my fixed star reading. But so yeah, so basically it's like your moon and having it in the 8th house. It's like you're supposed to intuitively feel. You're supposed to intuitively feel what's going on with people's like like I mean it's Sagittarius in the 8th house. Whatchamacallit, it actually does. Thanks for asking. Biggie was wrong. But what's going on with this aspect of, your chart is essentially just like you recognizing that there's a lot of benefit in letting things go, right? So essentially what it is like you need to sort of like, I don't know, it's like you need like a childhood regression memory of you saying bye to something and then receiving something that was going to be amazing and abundant in return. And it's like that entire process is going to help you understand that like letting things go is beautiful because it's creating space for new opportunities, right? So that's essentially like what your gift is and what your ability. Um, I don't even know where to begin with you, Paul. But yeah, so it's like with that being the essential purpose of having an Antares moon and having these two planets in this specific house, it's learning to like honestly doing like Kundalini yoga and learning that transmutation energy is essentially going to be phenomenal for you. But moving back to the star, let's see what the site says about the star. But that's essentially my vibe on Antares. Um, People say it's evil. It's not. It can be, but it's not. You know, it's the heart of Scorpio, so it's like literally feeling everything about transformation and all that crap. But it like doesn't have to be as painful, right? Um, but essentially, like you know, what it says here in the most basic sense for the moon is honestly you're going to gain a lot of honor and people will prefer you because you help them do something that hard and they want to avoid, but essentially it leads to you know a lot of dangers and calamities, right? And one of the people that had it predominantly in this placement was Nietzsche, which is someone whose philosophies um whatchamacallit basically like his philosophies weren't really published till after um you know his philosophies weren't published till he was long gone, which is unfortunate and kind of annoying. But yeah, that's pretty much the vibe. So let's go back to your chart and actually see the specific planets that are going to assist you in these endeavors. So basically, what we got going on here is we got the moon, which is the one that was angling Antares right here. And then we have what I was talking about, which is Lot of Fortune and Pluto retrograde. Um, so that's funny. Um, so essentially, what's going on is like you having a lot of fire elements right here with this energy is like honestly like I think this is like really obvious and really easy for you, and why I essentially say that is because of all your planets in Aries. So basically you have all of these natural inspirational abilities in your 12th house, and the problem that is kind of getting you is you're focusing on all of these emotional aspects from a conscious place, and you can't exactly do that, right? So, essentially, what's going on with this fire trine right here is you have these fire trine in your subconscious water houses, which basically creates a lot of internal turmoil and steam if you don't really clear that out. And what you can do with this energy is you literally have to get out of your conscious mind when you see something being removed from someone's life, whether it's a person, place, thing, or experience, and you have to go back to your subconscious and your early childhood, just like blind excitement towards anything. And you have to remember one of those memories where your innate gifts was you know, just being able to let things go and be expired, right? So it's like when your parents took a toy from you, that was terrible in the moment, but when you grew up and you moved on, it was an opportunity for you to become much more abundant, excited, and opportunistic in terms of like just what could come next, you know? So you kind of got into your own mind, you got excited and you psyched yourself up, right? And that wasn't necessarily pain, but it was a lesson for you to grow up, for you to move on, for you to truly be excited in such a way that like you just became able to, you know, overcome any like loss or transmutation and just be excited about the opportunity for something next, right? Like that's the Aries energy. It's like a baby. It's subconsciously um whatchamacallit. Oh yeah, yeah. Sun and Altair is cool. Altair is fun. I don't know if you ever play Assassin's Creed, but the entire storyline of Altair and Assassin's Creed is the same energy of that star. Pluto's actually angling it right now. But back to Naveen's chart. So essentially what you got here, Naveen, is you got a lot of subconscious energies, But what you have consciously is the ability to speak inspiration into people and to speak inspiration in a way that can be sustained and clear. And you have the ability to relate a lot of people, which is the issue with this opposition of where it's like when you get stuck into the demise of all these different things, you forget of how social and how innovative you can be from creating value of just like sharing ideas with different people and just being like a broad social butterfly that has the ability to inspire despite these feelings of loss that people are going through. So for you, it's just more or less understanding that you don't want to brood too much, because if you brood, you're going to self-implode. But if you focus on not absorbing all of that like loss from people from an empathetic standpoint, you have the opportunity to consciously give them a new foundation for what it is they can create and show them an opportunity of joy and excitement, you know? So that pretty much sums it up in terms of like how to use your chart. Like obviously there's a lot of nuances and depth to it, but like, you know, you give and you take. So yeah, if you have any questions, that's your chart pretty much. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, that's about it. I don't know, I'm gonna make some food. I'm hungry. Bye.